Hey folks, John with Alternate Arms, your friend in Less Lethal Self-Defense. All right guys, so I got an email in, which then subsequently led to a video, which then subsequently led to a package that came in. And boy, they are entering a heavy market, let me tell you. Check it out. I got to tell you this. Our friends over at Mercury Rise, all right, they released a new PCP 43 caliber double barrel Derringer. It looks a little something like this. Now, this is a pretty cool idea. It's a pretty cool concept. Now, the problem is that I do not have one yet. Mercury Rise did not see fit to even tell me this thing was coming out. So I did not know it was even around. But what I will tell you is there have been a couple people that have done videos on it. Airgun Alley did one already. I think Sean did one already. So there are some videos out. We will be getting one of those in here shortly so that we can get a video on it. It is a little different though. It is a PCP powered, which means it's a pre-charged pneumatic cylinder. It's a little different than what we've actually done in the past as it pertains to Less Than Lethal. But once again, it is new. Mercury Rise did drop it, so we will be getting them in here shortly. I'm going to toss a link down to Mercury Rise's page down there in the description. If you guys do get anything from Mercury Rise off there, that includes the Pistelle 68 or the MUB 50 or TR50 or any of that kind of stuff, this is the discount code that'll save you some money and it'll also help out the channel. So FYI, that code is down there. Yes, for those wondering, I will be carrying the Pistelle 68 myself shortly. I'm working on it. And then we'll be probably carrying some of those Derringers that are cool too. They look kind of cool, but we'll see. So, all right, now, in the world of 68 caliber ammo, there is nobody out there, at least up till this date, that has debated that the Grimberg Jewel is the best kinetic round that we've currently found, weight for value and power-wise, period. Nobody's been able to get close to it. Now, everybody knows the burner rounds. These are the standard burner kinetics, and in themselves, though they are lighter, they are definitely potent rounds as well. Well, we have a new entry into this market, and I am actually pretty excited about this just because of the design, but I'll show you. So this comes from, and there's a letter in here, and I'll read this to you. This comes from Glenn over at Less Lethal Ballistics. And guys, I will also throw a link to them down there no matter how this video comes out. We're going to find out shortly. It says here, enclosed, please find 25 smasher projectiles. Any feedback you can provide would be greatly appreciated. So, he wanted us to see them, guys. And you know, if they're sending them into channels like ours, that obviously they have faith in them. So if they have faith in them, we're going to test them. So, all right, taking a look at what's in the package here. And I got Stumpy all focused up here. I have not opened these yet, guys. This is sealed. I wanted to do this with you guys. So, and when I mean sealed, I mean check it out, dude. Okay, first of all, impact value. Everybody see that color? Okay, you cannot tell me that does not look cool. Army, baby. All the way. All right, let's crack this thing open and take a look at these. They do feel heavy, similarly heavy to probably the Grimberg, but we'll find out here shortly. All right, get a couple of these rounds in here. And as you can see, it's a standard. Now, okay, the design on this is a lot different, guys. All right, I'm gonna test something. I wanna know something right off the bat. So the way a Grimberg Jewel is made, all right? This is a rubber round that is infused as they make it. So in other words, the whole thing is an infused mass of substance, okay? These feel more like you've got a steel core. You see the difference on them? See how one of these is rubberized and one of them's got look really, really smooth? That is, if I had to guess, that's probably like a polypropylene outside with a steel ball on the inside. That's what it feels like to me. Now, assuming it's aligned correctly, we should be able to get we should be able to get, I'm just checking to see, it does tend to roll right, but that could be this disc. You should be able to get a lot smoother shot out of these out of some of the launchers. And in particular, now this doesn't apply to the Jewel because the Jewel fires through everything we've ever put it through. But there are some rubber rounds, like particularly the 68 caliber Humorex rounds, that tend to jam up Byrnas because they don't like rubber rounds. But these fire perfectly. I suspect these would have no issue either. Now, one thing I want to check, it feels, at least, feels like it's a little, might be small. All right, so let's check this caliper. I'm going to make sure we are zeroed out completely. Hold on one second here. There we go. All right, so you guys can see we are totally zeroed out on the caliper. All right, let's pull this down and see what we are looking at for the Jewel. All right, the Jewel is at a 6.8, right at 6.8, a tiny bit under 6.8. You see that? Right there. Now, let's see where this one's at. It feels, well, I don't know. Let's see here. Okay, that is a 6.7. It's a tiny bit smaller, guys. That's what I was feeling. It felt like it's a tiny bit smaller. That's not a huge deal, assuming that they will not have a lot of gas blow by. Now, from what I understand, this is an early design of this, and that there will be future designs that have different weights on it as well as dimensions. But right now, as it stands, it is a tiny bit smaller than the Grimberg Jewel, which means that it won't be quite as bore matched, but it should still be bore matched. Now, here's what we want to do. Now, these have been, from what I understand, and I, once again, okay. If you look at the description on their webpage, they list these as optimized for penetration. Now, all right, there's a couple schools on this, all right? When you're talking about kinetic defense using an impact for pain compliance, all right, the concept is you don't want a whole lot of penetration, because if you get penetration, then you're looking at actually hitting internal organs and possibly causing major issues. Now, granted, when you're dealing with a round that large, you're not going to get full-on penetration into a rib cage or into a skull. I mean, maybe, depending on the launcher you're firing out of. I mean, maybe if you had a Pistelle 68 and you were within 3 inches, you might be able to. But in general, I'm thinking it would probably more crack than penetrate. That being said, I'm kind of curious as to what they mean by that. So, I have an interesting test in mind for that, and we're going to take a look at that here in just a second. Now, weight-wise, as we all know, the Grimberg Jewel, I'm going to turn that on and clear it out here. And we're going to weigh all these. We know what they weigh. Yes, all of you have seen the videos. You know what these weigh. All right, I'm going to zero this out. There we go. All right. That Grimberg Jewel is at 7.66 grams. Hopefully Stumpy is getting that. All right, and just for giggles, I'm going to weigh one more, because I've seen a couple of these that have been a tiny bit different. Not much, not enough to make a difference. But 7.75 and 7.72. So, 7.7 grams. That's what these are. Now, contrary, let's check out our smasher rounds. That is 8.43. That is a heavier round. All right, let's weigh the next one. Zeroed out. 8.42. Weighing the next one. 8.45 and 8.42. 8.4 grams. So they are a little heavier than the Grimberg Jewels. Now, yes, just for giggles, and you can all laugh, this is the Byrna, okay? Byrna's going to weigh in at 3.1, 3.2. That's 2.93, and that is 2.93, 2.93, and that one's weighing in at 3.48. Oh, that's not a... Whoa, look what I did there, guys. Know what that is? 3.48. I was trying to figure out where the hell that's coming from. That is actually a salt supply kinetic round. So 3.48 on the salt supplies. Thank you. God, good, glad I caught that. Yeah. So, all right. So we know they're heavier. They're going to be a little bit heavier, which in itself is going to add to the impact on the other side. But remember, when it comes to power, there is a point of diminishing returns. If you're running off of a CO2 cartridge, the heavier the round is, the more CO2 you have to keep behind the round to get the velocity to give you impact on the other end. So in other words, if you're firing a 7.5 joule gun, all right, and you're firing a 9-gram round or even an 8.45 gram round, you're going to lose a lot of that velocity, that kinetic energy, because it's going to drop because you're not putting that much energy behind it. Now, once you pull your valve block and you're cranking out 20 joules, now you've got a lot more air behind the round. It's going to travel a whole lot further. Consequently, that also lends to upgrades. If you not only pull out the valve block, but you also extend the barrel. The longer the air is behind the round, the faster it's going to travel, the more power you've got on the other end. But, you know, nobody's going to conceal or carry a 12-inch barrel down their pants. Well, I mean, I might, but most people won't. Yeah. So, all right, here's what we're going to do. We have a unique way of testing this, all right? We know velocities that are coming out of the Pistelle 68. We know it's off the chart and it's awesome. We know the velocities on the gavel too. I'm out of 16-gram cartridges though, so we're going to use the Pistelle 68 for this. And we're going to shoot something that you've seen before. Here we go. All right, guys, so as you can see, we haven't even moved from the last time we did the tests with the Grimberg gavel versus the Pistelle 68. And if you guys didn't see that video, guys, go back and watch that video. It was awesome. Firing two cannons like that can never go wrong. It's just way too much fun. But if you will remember, the penetration that we saw on this is, by the way, this is that hurts. This is a very dense Scully, okay? I printed him specifically for the purpose of firing large caliber launchers that have a lot of power. But as you can see, point blank range, that is the penetration that we were getting off of the Grimberg joules. And digging those out, guys, is not happening. I mean, those are wedged in there. As you can see, I shot this side was the Berna. This side was the Grimberg. So it's only fair that this side is going to be the smasher rounds. All right, so here we go. I'm going to do this from the same point blank range, which means that we're talking about maybe 5 feet. All right, and I'm going to illustrate that. We've got our Pistelle 68. I've got all of our rounds loaded up in here. All right, we're going to charge it. I love that sound. All right, we're aiming for right here. Okay, we want to see the same kind of penetration to see what we're actually going to get. Hang on one second here. Eye protection and ear protection, which, by the way, you should definitely have. Right here. This is where we're at. Okay, here we go. And I'm just going to fire these out, guys. And that should be it. Yep, we're out. Man, I love the Pistelle 68. Holy cow. All right, so let's see what we're getting. Well, okay, all right. The camera doesn't lie, right? You guys know this. All right, so point blank range. This is coming off of, this is the Grimberg joules, all right? Point blank range, Grimberg joules. We're gonna turn to this side. This is point blank range for the smashers. Now that did penetrate a little deeper. Look, this is still like right on the edge there, but it's fully inside. This one is actually further in. Same thing with this one. That one and those two you can see are actually in there pretty good. I mean, they're in there more. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, it's not that there's anything wrong with that round, but those are actually in there a tiny bit deeper, and you can see that. Well, I mean, you can actually see where I hit these three together. Two right next to each other, how deep those are in, and this one's actually in between the two of them, wedged on there. So, once again, Grimberg joule, and that's the smasher. It kind of is what it is. It is. Let's go back in here. Okay, guys, listen. You cannot argue with results. You just can't, by the way. Discharge. Gotta love that. You can't. You simply cannot. Now, I suspect that the Pistelle 68, I think I know why we saw the results we did. Let me explain what I think. The Smasher rounds have two things that are going for them to allow them to get a little more penetration. Number one, they're smooth. So you have less friction once you're hitting a surface, which I do think is probably contributing. Also, they're a little heavier. So at 8.4 gram, it is a tiny bit heavier than the Grimberg Jewels, which would give it a little more impact on the backside. And I'll tell you, I don't think we've seen the most we can get out of them. And here's why. These are bore matched for almost every launcher. These will fit perfectly. Since these are smaller, we're still seeing blow-by, which means that once they size these up to the correct size, you're going to see more impact than even we just saw. I will say this, guys. If you are that close, you are breaking things. There's no question of it. There is no might. If you're that close, you're doing some serious damage. But the cool thing about that is, since you do have that kind of power coming out of them and they are that smooth and they do fire that well, they're going to do the damage you need. They're going to stop your target, which is what you're looking for. Guys, you can't argue it. I mean, it is what it is. You saw the results of the test. That Scully is brutally thick. Now I got to print another one because we've destroyed all the sides on it. So, but to give you an idea again, this is their card, FYI. And that is actually their QR code if you want to scan it on your phone. I will put a link to them down there in the description. Once they get these rounds sized up a tiny bit and we get a couple more on the show to make sure they're good, I may try to start carrying these also. They're decently priced as well. So you can't go wrong with either one of these guys. You know the drill. Grimberg Jewels are still the standard in this game. They just are. If they size these things up and they continue working, we may have a real contender in the market. We really might. Also, given the fact that these are still polypropylene on the outside, they're not going to damage your barrels. Now, I haven't seen a lot of that with aluminum, but steel certainly can. But, you know, detents in barrels, these are what they're built for. So, all right, guys, here's the drill. You know what this week is, right? You know what this is, right? So, this week is huge for me. Number one, we hit 15,000 subscribers. You guys rock, period. You rock. I can't believe we actually got there. And we're already moving on up past that. This is also, I'm going to be out of town this week. That's why I had to get this video dropped for you guys tonight. I'm going to be out in Michigan and down in Atlanta for a couple of days. When I get back, which is on next Sunday, we are immediately doing a turnaround and going to SHOT Show. I will be meeting up with someone kind of interesting. I talked to one of our friends over at Airgun Alley. Y'all know them? I'm meeting up with him down there. He's just actually going down there the same way I am to talk to people about PCP rifles. I'm just going down there for Less Than Lethal. So, hey, make that connection happen. That's right. Also, we've got interviews lined up with everybody. I've already talked to every CEO with the exception of one, and he knows who he is, but we'll talk to him shortly to get some interviews lined up. We have a lot of new stuff coming, and I do mean a lot. One of which you've probably seen, Grimberg. One of which you have not seen, and I can't tell you who it is. I really want to, but I can't. I just can't, but I want to. Guys, have a fantastic weekend. The next time I talk to you will be the first live we shoot when we're going to SHOT Show. We're going to do a lot of lives on there, and we're going to do the same thing. Lives, short interviews, longer interviews, compilation at the end. It's going to be a blast. Have a great week, guys. Bye-bye.